Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We are architecture students on a mission.
We are here to measure.
We are here to document.
But most of all, we are here to tell a story.
A story about a building and its heritage,
as well as the story of our mission to document it.
Follow us as we travel across 4 countries
in search of Islamic heritage
and understanding of Islamic architecture.
In this episode, we are here in Dhaka, Bangladesh,
where we will be documenting the historical Lalbagh Fort, investigating all the legends that surround it, uncovering all the hidden stories, as well as explore the colorful and lively city of Dhaka, experiencing its culture and learning its history. Bangladesh, historically known as Bengal, a beautiful South Asian country with a population of over 150 million, the third largest, most homogeneous population in South and Southeast Asia, and the 8th largest in the world. A subtropical monsoon country whose body is made almost entirely of deltas and snaking bodies of water, where the 2 great rivers, Ganges and Brahmaputra, meet. It is as rich in culture and resources as it is rich in history. After 9 months of liberation war with Pakistan, on the 16th of December 1971, Bangladesh achieved independence until today. As we arrive in Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, we are hit by its bustling colorfulness, a full sensory experience in every sense of the word. With the population exceeding 14 million, it is considered to be the fastest growing city in the world. There are several myths surrounding the name Dhaka, which in Bengali means concealed. This concealed forest area was once called Dhaka Ishwari, referring to the Hindu Buddha concealed goddess. Dhaka as we know it started along Buriganga River during 1608, although the settlement is known to have been in existence since the 7th century as a small riverside township. Buriganga River differs in its form and location from the early period of Bengal and from Bangladesh today. This is because of a natural geographical effect, and the river has naturally shifted from its original location. The journey of Islam in the Bays of Bengal started through Afghan and Persian preachers who were merchants coming to Chittagong for trading. Prior to that, the influence of Hinduism dated back to the ancient period when Bengal was still in the Indian Empire. The 13th century was when Muslim rule started in Bengal after Bakhtiyar Khalji conquered Nadia in 1204, thus beginning the period of early Sultanate. During this time, Islam spread rapidly in Bengal, ruled by lineages of sultans. Mughal rule was established in Bengal after the defeat of Karani Afghan Daud Khan. By 1596, Mughal rule has merged all over Bengal, making it the eastern edge of an empire. The Mughals in Bengal, like their masters in northern India, were the direct descendants of the Mongol Timurid race of Central Asia and Persia. The first emperor of the Mughal Empire, Babur, introduced the idea of Mughal architecture. A descendant of the famed Mongol warrior Timur, he started to expand his territory to the southern of Central Asia at the age of 12, capturing Samarkand, Herat, Kabul, and later India. After Babur died, the empire was left to his son Humayun. He was exiled to Persia for 15 years after a powerful Afghan commander Sher Shah defeated him. He was then followed with Akbar the Great. It was during Akbar's reign that Mughal architecture fully came to life. Mughal architecture during Akbar's rule, who had an eclectic personality, represented that unique blending of Persian architecture with the Indian style. Akbar expanded the empire over the greater part of India and also brought Bengal under the Mughal rule and made Rajmahal as Akbarnagar, the capital city of Bengal. His successor, Jahangir, moved the capital to Dhaka, which was then named Jahangirnagar. Shah Jahan, the ruthless prince, crowned himself as the ruler of the universe in the last years of Jahangir's life control of the empire. During the earliest period of his rule, he demolished a few of Akbar's sandstone structure. His most outstanding masterpiece of Mughal architecture, unmatched for its grandeur of conception, perfect proportions, and sumptuous ornamentations, was his Taj Mahal. However, in the heart of old Dhaka lies Lalbagh Fort, an incomplete fortress. Beyond its red brick walls lies a story just waiting to be told. The year was 1678. 10 years before its subsequent abandonment, Lalbagh Fort started construction full of promise and potential, overlooking Buriganga River from the north.
Originally, Dhaka was surrounded by rivers. In the fort side, Dhaka were 4 rivers. In the southern side, it was at that time located the Buriganga River. In the northern side, Tongi River. Eastern side, Turag River. And the western side, Turag River, and the eastern side, Balu River. Dhaka was surrounded by rivers and crisscrossed by several lot of canals.
Before the arrival of the Mughal, Dhaka was simply a military outpost. So in 1610, when Subadar Islam Khan shifted the capital from Rajmahal to further inland in Dhaka to subjugate the rebellious lords of Bengal, Dhaka was actually started to grow as a capital city.
The construction was started by Prince Azam, the third son of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, when he laid the foundation of a planned grand fort in the new capital. At the time, he had just been appointed as the Viceroyalty of Bengal. Eventually, he could not finish his supervision on the fort when he was called back by Aurangzeb after only 1 year's tenure of office. He was replaced by Nawab Shaista Khan, the man who greatly expanded the construction of the fort. Shaista Khan served as the new Mughal governor of Bengal, a key figure during the rule of the emperor. Emperor Aurangzeb entrusted him as the leading general in the fight against Marathas, and after the battle, he became the administrator of Bengal. His legendary fame was long cherished by people for his boundless kindness, economic prosperity, and as a great builder in the golden age of Bengal. Nevertheless, what is discovered as the remains of its incomplete structure today leads to several big questions. What was its original plan? Why was it left incomplete? And what was the real purpose of this fort? The fort was never completed. Judging from what it is now, we may never know what it was fully intended to look like. The reason behind its abandonment has remained a debate between historians and archaeologists for many years. One of the theories behind the fort's incompletion is because of the premature death of their favorite daughter, Bibi Pari. Her death devastated Shaista Khan, and he abandoned the fort, declaring it bad luck. Instead, he built a tomb to commemorate his daughter.
If we look at the historical event, we can see that when Lalbagh Fort was under construction in the eastern part of the empire, the western part of the Mughal Empire is actually under insurgency. So the emperor was constant with the Rajputs, with the Marathas and with the Sikhs. And he recalled Prince Azam for this reason to Delhi to support himself in the war. And all the monies, all the resources from all the provinces were channeled to Delhi to meet up the cost of this war.
Today, Lalbagh Fort can be said to remind the old Dhaka of its role in the great Mughal Empire. As Dhaka is now a rapidly growing metropolis, Lalbagh Fort serves as an element of history and also contrasts between its vast gardens and the surroundings beyond the walls.
This is the view of Lalbagh Fort, a sanctuary from the hustling, bustling city of Dhaka.
Entering through the distinctive and majestic Mughal gates, the central area of the fort is occupied by three buildings: the Diwan-i-Am and the hammam on the east, the mosque on the west, and the tomb of Bibi Pari in between. At present, the Diwan-i-Am, after careful restoration to its original features, has been converted into a fort museum.
This is one of the exhibition items currently on display in the Diwan-i-Am, which has been converted into a museum. This black stone marks the entire fort as a part of the Mughal territory.
It serves as a historical attraction to the tourists, as well as a place for recreational activities to the locals. Excavations on the high ground on the south has revealed the existence of an ornamental reservoir surrounded by a garden and the wreckage of some building remains. An interesting underground covered masonry drain has also recently been discovered. These recent discoveries prove the Mughals' ingenuity with the water system and suggest that Lalbagh Fort could have been much more than we imagined. And these are just some of the things that we will investigate. Lalbagh Fort, an heir of Mughal architecture, with Fatehpur Sikri, Agra Fort, and Taj Mahal as prime examples before its construction, it surely would have taken notes from its predecessors. Although the Mughals brought with them strong architectural influences to Bengal, mimicking that of the Mughal capital in India, there were several adaptations that made it distinctive to Bengal Mughal architecture. One of these can be seen in the design of the roof form of the Diwan-i-Am. The gracious curvilinear roof of the Diwan-i-Am reflects the typical thatched dochala hut. The eaves of the roof have been decorated with a beautiful cornice, with lime used as both mortar and plaster on the roof surface to make it water resistant. There is no specific history of the Diwan-i-Am. However, many written sources mentioned that this is an audience hall used by the governor to give audience to his subjects and meet his officials, as it is located near to the main city gate, which is the public entrance. It was also the supposed residence of the governor, Shaista Khan. The Diwan-i-Am consists of a central hall which is sided by two chambers. This hall is accessible through 3 arched entrances located at the center of the building.
This is the east entrance of the Diwani Am, which leads to the ground floor, which is a private place for the governor and his family.
The central hall contains a lotus fountain. Attached to the west of the Diwani Am is the hammam, while to the north and south of the hall are staircases to access the first floor. The first floor plan layout is a duplication of the ground floor. The simple rectangular plan also consists of an audience hall in between the 2 chambers. There are Indian columns, which were used as building decorations in between the foliated arches. Between the columns were screens of geometrical patterns called jalis. The jali allowed natural ventilation and lighting to enter into the building, but now it has been covered up with cement for exhibition purposes. Geometrical decorations, a strong identity of Islamic architecture, can be found everywhere in the Diwani Am, such as at the jali screens, the lotus fountain, the top of each openings, as well as the floor tiles. Almost all of the surfaces of the Lalbagh Fort Mosque have been decorated with various recessed panels, some rectangular and some of flowers in vases. There are northern and southern doorways in the plan and 3 entrances at the eastern wall of the plan. Once you enter the mosque, 3 lateral arches divide the space into 3 bays under the 3 domes. The Qiblat, or prayer direction, is indicated with 3 mihrabs on the wall. The mihrab and Qiblat wall are ornamented with smooth terracotta ornaments such as elements of rosettes, leaves, and brides. Although Mughal architecture is that of the Islamic world, there are several Hindu influences.
Going on to the details of this Mughal architecture, this 3-dome mosque implies a great recess and relief ornamentation. Other than that, the Mughal architecture also adapts the Hindu architecture. For example, this base column. This ornamentation is the adaptation of the Hindu architecture, and same goes to the 3-dome mosque. It is the influence of the northern India.
The mosque does feature minarets, but they are just solid octagonal structures located at each corner of the mosque, functioning as symbols rather than a place to call the adhan. On top of the minaret stands a domed kiosk, which is influenced by Hindu architecture called chhatri. The Lalbagh Fort's garden, with the name Lalbagh itself meaning red gardens, is typical of Mughal gardens. The garden was planned based on the Charbagh garden concept, which was originally brought to India by the first Mughal emperor, Babur.
So what is Charbagh? Charbagh is actually a replication of the paradise in the earth. And this concept of Charbagh is that if you have a site, you have to divide it into 4 quadrants by using 2 axes. And the most important building should be placed at the intersection of the axis. If we look into the plan of Lalbagh Fort, you can see that it is following the same principle imported by the Mughals. And all these buildings like the Diwani Am, the tomb of Pari Bibi and the mosque, they are placed along the intersection of the 2 axes.
Another question is, in an age when water pumps were non-existent, how did they supply the water to the whole of the fort? South of the complex, just under the rooftop garden, are the Lalbagh Fort barracks. It was a very long rectangular room with many openings and functioned as a room for the soldiers, but it is now converted into a conference room. Next to the barracks is an underground gunpowder room. Along the fortification wall, there were numbers of octagonal bastions projecting beyond the wall. Some of the bastions contained underground cells.
This is the watchtower overlooking the Buriganga River, where the soldiers used it for surveillance.
As mentioned earlier, Lalbagh Fort was built near Buriganga River.
From this river, the water was drawn by the huge wooden water wheel, and then it was collected to the overhead reservoir.
Where a water wheel, which was supposed to be here, supplied water from the river below, which is now the street.
There was a very detailed terracotta piping system that channeled the water to different places of the fort. There's one channel going towards the mosque for ablution. There's another channel going towards the garden. And there could be other water channels that goes to the hammam or the baths or the divanikas.
Similar to other Mughal gardens, Lalbagh Fort also uses the water pressure system. This involves the distribution of water from a higher level to the lower level. From the rooftop garden, water will be distributed to the ground level through a water sheet known as a chador. This chador is a unique feature of the water system whereby it produces soothing sounds which will create different moods to the listeners. Later, the water will be channeled to the entire fort, including the mosque and the Diwani Am.
We know that when the Mughal came here, they brought architects, artisans, craftsmen, artists, all with them. They have huge group of people with them. But the thing that they couldn't bring here is the material. And their favorite material was red sandstone and white marble. Bengal, the only available thing is mud and brick. So they have to reinterpret their whole design concept into the local material.
The walls are load-bearing walls that bear a load resting upon it by conducting its weight to a foundation structure. The bricks were laid layer by layer to form a solid wall. The thickness depends on the weight to be carried, and in this case, the walls are very thick. Brick dust and lime has been used as the finishes as well as the mortar. The floor slab and the roof slab of the Diwani Am uses a brick vault system. The arrangement was erected to form a vault-like shape supported by the load-bearing wall at the bottom. The vault shape can be seen clearly through the interior ceiling.
This is the three-dome mosque, which is the significance of the Mughal architecture. The material here is made of lime and brick to portray the Lalbagh Fort, which means the Red Garden.
The eastern or main facade is visually divided into three sections. The middle section is emphasized by a frame of slender engaged columns, a raised cornice, and a larger dome. Instead of pillars, transverse arches seen inside the mosque support the dome structure. Arches are important for Mughal buildings because the whole structure stands on these elements. The dome is then constructed brick by brick. The three domes in onion shape are fluted and sit on octagonal drums decorated with rows of blind merlons. The slightly pointed onion-shaped domes, crowned with kalash finials and lotus flower, are significant in the Mughal mosque, influence from Hindu architecture and symbolizes a sacred vessel. Several concave triangles, called pendentives, can be seen in each transitional space of the mosque, tapering at the bottom and spreading at the top to establish the circular base needed for the dome. The brick pendentives receive the weight of the hemisphere dome, concentrating it at the four corners where it can be received by the massive wall beneath. The arches of the main entrance and mihrab of the Lalbagh Mosque are decorated with elaborate muqarnas, a type of stalactic vault used as a decorative device. Muqarnas takes the form of small pointed niches, stacked in tiers, projecting beyond those below, and constructed in bricks and later finished by plaster. Contrary to the structural arches in the Lalbagh Fort Mosque, the distinctive multifoliated arched openings in the Diwan-i-Am are only ornamental arches. The arches spring from four slender ornamental sandstone columns on the second level of the hall and act as windows facing east and west. Like the mosque, the Diwan-i-Am also features muqarnas. In the Diwan-i-Am, the muqarnas is applied to the domes in the central area of the hammam, where the square platform was raised. The hammam itself, a place not only for ceremonial ablution, but also a resort of enjoyment and luxury, features a sophisticated water system fit for the royals accommodating it. This hammam water system will be revealed after this. The hammam, which is attached to the Diwan-i-Am, is covered by a small dome and originally had an opening for natural lighting and ventilation. Used by the governor Shaista Khan and his private guests, it includes an open cruciform hall, a preparation area, a heating room, cold water reservoir, a masonry brick bathtub, a toilet, a dressing room, and a boiler room which some have rumored to be a kitchen. We now know that the water is channeled through the entire fort, including the mosque and the Diwan-i-Am. Upon reaching the hammam, the water channel diverges into a cold water channel and another into the underground boiler that heats up the water and produces hot water.
Okay, right now where we are standing is the place where the process of boiling the water. So as you can see around us is the place where the workers used to boil the water. The water will go around this area and will be diverted into that hole. So from the hole there's a room above. The hot water will create a steam that goes up and create a sauna above. So it's some sort of multi-purpose for the boiling water.
These two water channels are then mixed by the royal servants to the preferred temperature of the governor to be used for a soothing bath. The rest of the unused water continues to flow to the reservoir, which functions as a ballast tank located to the east of the fort. This was where the water from the river would finally be collected. As in Pascal's law, once this large reservoir was full, the collective hydrostatic pressure of all the water produces a force that pushes the water through the small channels in a very high pressure that will make all the water fountains in the fort function. This includes the sunken ornamental lotus fountain located in the central hall of the Diwan-i-Am, which is an important part of Mughal architecture and symbolizes the lotus, a sign of nobility and relating to paradise. There is also a probability that there was another water wheel near the south gate, which functioned to bring the water directly to the water reservoir. The water will then return to the river, continuing its cycle in the vast ecosystem.
Unfortunately, these days, only the scholars are interested about this building. There are very few publications, there are very few attempts to preserve this building. For common people, it's just a park.
As Lalbagh Fort was never finished, with its construction halted at the grim event of Bibi Pari's death, lack of funding or other speculated events, we might never know what it was supposed to look like as intended by Shaista Khan.
The big question today is, what was the purpose of building such a complex? Was it a fort or a garden, or is it a tomb complex or a palace complex?
It could have been a masterpiece, perhaps even surpassing the forts that preceded it.
And government want to this Lalbagh Fort as included in the World Heritage List.
The gateways are in the axis of this huge water body, but the water body is placed at the end of the fort complex, at the eastern end of the fort complex. So we can assume that possibly in the master plan, this side, this western part of the fort, supposed to be reflected on the eastern side as well.
What we know now is that Lalbagh Fort has served well as an escape.
Our government is trying to develop this Lalbagh Fort as a tourist center, as an educational center, as a recreational space for the old Dhaka.
It serves as a link from the past to its future.
Just leave it as it is, because in the name of reconstruction and repair, we've had so much damage done.
In that sense, this building is supposed to be appreciated, supposed to be preserved by everybody.
As it will surely remain a treasure for many generations to come.